Hi, I'm Tim and this is Timberway Designs. In this series I take 10 common rocks that anybody can find and I cut them in half on my trim saw downstairs and we open them up and take a look at them. And then I'll take those 10 rocks and I'll make cabochons out of them and you'll get to see what I can actually do with these things in the next episode, which would be episode 37. And then at the end of this episode I have the rocks from the previous episode that I made cabochons into, and we'll compare it and look from the rough rock to the cabochon. So I got 10 rocks here. Let's take a closer look at them. These are the rocks that we're going to cut in half for this video here. These are from beaches on Lake Superior, a couple, 3 or 4 beaches I visit. These are kind of a mixture from each one. And basically you find the same thing on all the beaches. So we'll start with this one here. So what we got here is amygdaloidal. It's got basalt and looks like prehnite. That's how I pronounce it. I think some people pronounce it prinit. I don't know which is probably the second one's the correct way to do it, but I like saying prehnite. So I can kind of tell like it's kind of greenish here. And this is, you would call this, to me it looks like a conglomerate because it's got chunks, or a conglomerate, or a brachiated, because it's got sharp chunks glued together. But we'll find out for sure when we cut it. Let's get it wet. Let's see why I picked it up. Yeah, you can kind of see the greenish from the prehnite. And usually if there's prehnite, there's going to be a free flecks of copper floating around in there too. Look at that. That's almost blue right there. So I think that's going to be an exciting cut right here. All right, got this done. Here's another amygdaloidal. And I probably picked it up because it was pink. And then it, I don't know if it's feldspar. I think if I can get it right there. See how that shines, that flat plane right there? That's a feldspar thing usually. And I don't know, the host rock I thought was basalt, but it looks like it's got some other stuff mixed into it. So this might be a concretion almost. I'm not really sure. But it's got a kind of a pinkish hue going about it. And I thought I saw some fortifications in there, like right there. This kind of looks kind of agate to me. So we might be dealing with agate here. And we'll find out for sure when I cut this in half. This is a chunk of banded ironstone. And this is pretty common up here in this part of the country. And I like it. I really do. It makes a pretty cabochon. You know, it depends on what it's mixed with. Usually it's hematite and red jasper, but this don't look like hematite here. It looks more like a quartz. So that might make a cool looking one yet. But the bad thing about these is they like to fracture really bad while they're getting smashed on the shore and stuff. So I'm hoping when we cut this open, we'll have a nice fracture-free slab to work with here. Get it wet. This stuff is like neon red when it's sitting on the beach. You just can't, it catches your eye. It's hard to walk by this stuff, and it's cool to find bigger pieces like this. Usually they're a lot smaller. This is a piece of banded shirt. You can see it's kind of a waxy appearance, and then it gets these things called conchoidal fractures. Let me see if I can find, like here, when it fractures, it's so hard, little chips fly out of it when it gets beat against the other rocks. And this is another stone that's hard to find in large chunks because it breaks down so fast. I usually don't pick up a lot of this because it's always in little pieces, but I picked this one up, and we're gonna do a cab out of this one. See how it comes out. All right, this one here, it's quartz and jasper. It's kind of small, but I think I can cut it so we can get a cool looking cab. And it almost looks like it's got fortifications in it. Right there. I'm just hoping it's not deep fractures and stuff, but if I can get a good slice out of this, this is going to make an awesome looking cabochon. And we got a piece of gneiss. Black and white. And like I've always said, I used to walk past the gneiss. I never picked it up, because I didn't think it was worth anything. But this stuff shines really good. I've been impressed with the shines I've been getting and some of the patterns. So we'll see what kind of cool looking pattern we can get with this black and white here. It's a piece of argillite. Kind of a gray rock. I can't get super duper shines out of this, but I love the patterns in these because it don't look, awesome out here, but when you cut these in half, these squiggly lines are really dark. and you can get some pretty intricate patterns with it. So the only thing I kind of worry about, this one's got a lot of fracturing in it, but I'm hoping I can get a slice out of it that we can do a clean cab on. We got this one here. You know, it's either chert or it's jasper, but the yellow, you know, you don't find yellow and dark, and it almost looks like a green right there. Let's get it wet and see what it looks like here. Yeah, look at the green, yellow, and then whatever, you got some fortification looking stuff in here. I'm kind of excited about this rock here. I think this is going to make a really cool looking cab. You got another piece of gneiss here. I think I almost call this granitic gneiss. It's got some granite running through there, it looks like. Get it wet here. Yeah, we got kind of a pinkish hue going on in there. And I think it'll make a intricate pattern looking slice there. And then we got this here. Now I'm not positive what this is. I'm kind of leaning towards schist, and I'll put the name below here. I'm not mispronouncing a bad word. But God, look at the colors on this. You know, and it might be a sedimentary rock, because it's got a lot of quartz and jasper in there too, but I just could not walk past this thing. It just said, popped up and said, "Ooh, Tim, pick me up." So I'll get it wet here. Look at that. If there's not a lot of fractures and stuff in here, this is probably going to be one of the prettier cabochons I've made in this series for a rock that was picked up on a beach. So there you have it. There's the 10 rocks. We're going to take them downstairs, cut them in half on the saw. So I'll meet you downstairs. All right, we're down here on my 10-inch high-tech trim saw. And before we proceed, I want to show you, this is a continuous rim sintered diamond blade. I'm rubbing my thumb on it right now, and it don't even cut the glove. So this saw blade will not cut me. So do not worry about me cutting my fingers. And then the other thing I do is I touch it up to expose more diamonds. And I use a coarse grinding disc, and I just kind of run it slowly through 3 times. And that usually exposes enough diamonds to keep it cutting pretty good. So I always say I'm going downstairs to saw. My shop is in the basement. We got a full basement up here in the Northland. I would show you the shop, but it's not really a shop. I just got stuff scattered over the place, but I'm working on it. So someday we'll have a pretty shop, and we'll talk about that. So let's get going here. All right, first one we're going to cut is this one here. And I think I'm going to try to cut this side off right here. Okay, first rock, episode 36. Let's see what this looks like on the inside. Wow. All right, definitely looks different on the inside than it does on the outside. Okay, forgot to touch up my blade because I could tell when I cut that rock. About 3 times does it. All right, this one here, I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut pretty deep in here because then I can go either way, because I want to get this in with this stuff here. All right, go just like that. All right, I'll be honest with you, I've been really anticipating this rock here. Let's see what we got. Wow. That is cool, especially along the edges here. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit more about these when we go upstairs. All right, got this piece of gneiss here. You can keep it from overexposing. And you're going to split it right down the middle. Let's see if this gneiss is nice. Liking that. I'm already thinking what kind of cabochon I can make out of this. All right, this one here has really I really want to see what this one looks like on the inside. I'm just going to cut this edge off right here. Okay, let's see what we got. That is cool, but it wasn't yellow like I thought it was going to be. Okay, no, I like it though. All right, got another chunk of nice here, and we're going to split it right down the middle. Well, let's see what this little rock's got to offer. Okay, kind of looks like the outside. I'm liking the layer and the patterns though. Alright, this one's going to be a little tricky here. I gotta figure out what side I want. You know, actually, I'm going to split it. We'll split it, see what happens. Alright, I think that worked out well. Let's see what we got. Ooh, that is cool. Okay. I got this piece of chert, and I am going to split it right down the middle. Not a bad cut. Let's see what we got. Okay. A little blah, but I'll make a shiny cabochon. Alright, got this piece of banded ironstone, this neon red stuff here. I want to cut this side off here. See what it looks like. Kind of like the outside, but I love the orangish reddish color. All right, this one here, you know, let's see. I'm going to cut this side off here. All right, question is, do we have an agate here? Oh yeah, look at that. It's like an agate to me. All right. And we got this piece of argillite here. I'm just going to split it right down the middle. So we got, oh, look at that. See, it's a little darker too. It's a little sunburnt or bleached on the outside, but look at that. Look how the lines stand out. All right, I'm gonna gather these up. We'll take them upstairs and we'll look at them a little closer and talk about them a little bit. All right, we're back upstairs from the saw. Got some really good surprises here. I mean, I was surprised while we're cutting them. So let's take a look at these little, talk about them a little bit. So we got this big one here. Rinse some of the crumbs off. Okay, that's what it looked like on the outside. You can see why I picked it up. Got some dark color banding stuff going on in there. Look at that. You got two different kinds of rocks here, all glued together with this prehnite, which kind of weird because usually prehnite you'll see copper in there. I'm not seeing any copper, but God, it's got interesting pattern. I don't know. I think it's going to make a cool cab. I kind of wanted to incorporate this rock, these broken pieces here. I mean, I could have cut this top part off and had none of this in there, but you know, I could still do that. But yeah, I'm kind of impressed with that. You can see why I picked it up. So I don't know if this is basalt. I don't know if this is gabbro or diabase. I'm not really sure. But yeah, look at that. All right, got this piece of banded ironstone, and it's just this color, orangish reddish bright color, gets me every time. Like I said, usually it's hematite on the inside, but I think this is something else. It almost looks like a quartz or something. There might be some hematite in there. Actually, there's a little band of it right. If I can get it to focus. There's a little band of hematite right on top of this dark band here. Yeah, look at that. And I don't see a lot of fractures in there, so I think the cab is going to come out really awesome on this one. So there's the outside. Yeah, you can kind of looks kind of quartzy down here. Yeah. A piece of banded shirt. You can kind of see the bands right there. A lot of conchoidal fractures in it. Not a lot going on inside here. But this stuff is so hard. It when it shines up beautifully. I'll try to incorporate some of this edge stuff in there to give it a little character. But yeah, I think it'll be pretty. This piece of argillite here. And this is another stone I never picked up because I always thought they were too soft, which it is a soft rock, but you know, you've seen cabs I made out of these before, but they're pretty once you get them shaped and shine. That's got a nice pattern on the inside, but you look at the outside, I mean, it looks okay on the outside, but it looks so much more refined and darker, crisper pattern once you cut it open. And that looks like a fracture right here, but actually that's a dark line. Well, let's see. Usually you can dry it off and you can tell right away if it's a fracture or not. I don't think it is. Yeah. So, yeah, maybe it is. I can see some lines in there now. We'll avoid all that. Yeah, I'm kind of excited about this one too. Let me cut this little one here. And, you know, I don't even walk past these. If I look at something small and I think I can make a cab out of it, I'm picking it up. And this one really caught my eye. And look at the pattern on the inside there. That is so cool. So this, probably do a natural, probably do a natural with these guys here. They got a good shape just for that. So I think there's some high expectations with this one here. Look how bright that is. Even got some, looked like it's got some banding going on right here. Okay. Unexpected. This one here was, when it was dry, it was really light colored. And I thought, oh, that'll look really neat as a cabochon. Nope, it's not. It looks. Now that I'm thinking, you know, I said schist. Now I'm kind of leaning more towards granite. But see, the granite, usually you don't find granite where it's layered like this. You can kind of see the layering right there. So I don't know. I'll have to research this one a little bit. If you have any idea exactly what this is, leave a comment in the comments down below. Help me out. Yeah, I like the pattern. There's a lot of swirliness going on in there. A few fractures, but like I said, we can work around those. Yeah, look at that. Cool. All right, here's another one that, you know, you walk in, you look at it and go, oh, I found myself a yellow rock here. You look at it and go, yeah, that's going to look really cool. I was thinking yellow the whole time. I cut it open and it's not yellow. But look at the pattern on that. Ain't that fantastic? The green, chlorite. I keep saying chlorite. Chlorite, or I don't know what the black is, hornblende maybe. I don't know. This thing's got like a potpourri of different minerals and rocks. And it's even got a druzy pocket right there with some crystals. So now my mind is racing on what kind of cabochon I can make out of this. And it was rather solid too. Look at that. You know, I thought for sure it was going to be yellow all the way through there, but no, it wasn't. But yeah, that is so neat. Got a piece of nice here. And, you know, I'm always looking for pattern and color, and I like the pattern on this one. And I think that'll make an interesting cabochon. And like I said, the stuff's been shining pretty good for me. So knock on wood, we get a good shine out of it. But yeah. Now I say nice, could be quartz, but usually quartz don't band up like this in this amount. So I'm going to stick with nice for now. Could be wrong, but I don't know. I'm not a geologist. I just look at books and stuff and experience. Yeah, I thought the black and white was nice and contrasty. We got another piece of nice here, this granitic nice. Kind of subtle colors there too, some nice bandings and little quartz running through there and stuff. Yeah, I thought it should make okay looking cab. This way or this way. We'll find out. And then here is the surprise rock. A lot of times you pick up these amygdaloidals and you see little fortifications on the outside like that. And then you cut them open and you get that. Look at that. That, folks, is an agate. And I think that is going to make a beautiful cabochon. I think I cut enough off on this one. And it might be close. Yeah, it might be thick enough. Incorporate some of this host rock here. God, ain't that cool? Definitely got enough on this side to make at least 2 more cabs. Look at that. You know how many people walked by this and didn't give it a second thought. But, well, Tim gave it a second thought, and here we are looking at it. Awesome. So, I'll take these 10 rocks here, and I'll make a cabochon on each one of them, and you'll see the cabochons on episode 37. So make sure you come back and watch that. So now we're going to clear these out of the way, and I got the cabochons from episode 35, the South Dakota rocks that Bruce donated to me. We're going to look at them and see what you think of those. All right, here are the rocks from episode 35. My good friend of mine, Bruce, sent them out to me from South Dakota. I'm kind of jealous because he gets to go out all the time looking for them, and I can only go out a couple times a year, but that's okay. I get enough rocks from around here. So first one we had here was what I call prairie agate, and it's mixture of chert, jasper, and quartz generally. And they're always pretty on the inside. I mean, they're not, they vary so much. This one has some cool little eyes and some crystal pockets going on in there. And then I think it had some fortifications out here. I don't know. Right there. So, here's a cabochon I made. And as usual, all these rocks from South Dakota, they always shine really nice. And this one's it's kind of hard to see, but it's got some crystal pockets in there, and you can actually see down inside the rock there. So there's the back. You can see the crystal pocket right there. There's the front. Exceptional shine. You can kind of see where this crystal pocket breaks through, but you can, if you look at it close enough, you can kind of see in it. It's not, as far as intricate designs and stuff, it's kind of so-so, but anyway, there's the original rock, and there is the cabochon I made out of it. So we got ourselves a chunk of petrified wood. And I think this is, petrified wood agatized to the nth degree. You can kind of see some lines in there. But this is what really kind of sold it to me, was that right there. Look at that. Oops. That is cool. It was really hard, and with the hardness comes exceptional shine. You can even see the reflection of my camera in there. Look at that. And if I put a light behind here, you could see through it. I can hold it up. There's the back. There's the front. Hang on, My fingers are a little wet from dipping in the water there. Look at that. Just, I mean, the shine is so cool. So, you know, exceptional. And it's got a beautiful pattern in there. So there's the cabochon. And there is the original rock. Okay, here's another one, prairie agate. And this one had a little fortification right there. And when I cut the other side, it went all the way through. And I thought, oh man, this is going to make such a good looking cabochon. So you can see that. It really don't, well, it's got a little tiny bit, I don't know, maybe not. Well, here's the cabochon, but had a fracture right in the center of it when I dug into it. And I even got some of the fortification there. There's the rest of it right there, but the fractures got me. So another beautifully shiny cabochon here with a little fortification. A little pattern there. So there's the original rock, and here's the cabochon. I got a feeling this one might end up in the dud pack with the fracture in it like that. I had this big old one here. This one had some fortifications on it too. I don't see any on this side. And I tried to incorporate them into the cab. They're kind of a light pink color. There's what it looked like wet. So I was actually able to incorporate it into the cabochon. Here's the cabochon. And that right there is fortifications, that pinkish orange stuff there. But another exceptionally shiny rock. Here's the back. Here's the front. You could hold this up to the light and it's kind of transparent too. But yeah, look at that. Impressive, I think. So there's the original rock. And there's cabochon. And it's got a druzy pocket right there too. Right, this was the one that was dark on the outside and it had the white patch on it. And then when I cut it in half, it looked like that. Okay. So I thought maybe this circle of stuff went a little deeper into the rock. Get it wet again so you can see what it looked like when I cut it. Right there. Had this little gray stuff going on. I made a natural cab. Here's the cabochon. It's got detail, but it's so blended and smooth. You know, it's nothing, it kind of like blends into itself. So it's not like, you know, slap you in the face. Ooh, look at these patterns here. But it's got some really good colors in it. And there's that center part there on the back side. Another, you know, exceptional shine. Like these rocks always, you know, shine well. It's really smooth pattern, but natural pattern. So there's the original rock. There's cabochon. All right, this was the big orange one. I didn't have much left of it because it kind of fell apart on me. And this, I got a lot of comments from the viewers that said I should incorporate this druzy pocket into a cab. Well, I thought about it, but the only problem is it penetrated all the way to the other side. So if I were to put a dop stick, this is a dop stick right here, stick it on there, you know, to hold it, all that wax would go in there and I wouldn't be able to get it out. This stuff it's pretty sticky, especially when it flows into crevices and little holes and stuff. It kind of reminds you what the colors were. Nice orangish, yellowish color. Some cool patterns. Plus, it was full of little druzy pockets too. This is the biggest one that was in there. So actually, I made two cabochons. I made a cabochon out of the end where I wanted these designs here. Had some little druzy pockets here. Exceptional shine again. There's the back. Had these pads of orangish, reddish stuff going on there too. I thought I'd incorporate some of that in there. Okay, I did that one, and then I did another one with a druzy pocket. There's a druzy pocket right there. Goes all the way through the cab. And then you can see where I have problems with the wax, how it's stuck in that hole there. And, you know, it's really hard to dig that out. So that's why I'm a little hesitant. There's another druzy pocket with some wax in it that you know, dopping up a druzy pocket from the back side that goes all the way through the front. Yeah, there you go. I might try to push that wax out of there because that did go all the way through. So there's the other half of the rock were more the pockets where there's another druzy pocket right there. There's the back. There's a druzy pocket right there. This thing was just riddled with them. So there's the two cabs. And there's the original rock I made them out of. Actually, here's the other piece of original rock that was left. All right, had this layered rock here. And I thought, you know, I knew it was going to shine. I could tell that. And I really wanted this yellow stripe in there, but it had a fracture right up the side here. So it kind of worked to one side of it. Kind of put a little moisture on it so you can see what it looked like when it's wet. It's very pretty. Kind of a tannish color. Got nice bands running through there, plus that yellow bonus band there. So I made this cab out of it. And I think I did a really good job on that. Got a decent shine, a lot better than I was expecting. There's the back. There's the front. Got the incorporated yellow band like I wanted. Got out of the fracture. So there's the original rock. There's the cabochon I made out of it. You can see a big difference there. All right, this is that prairie agate. I kept saying looked like an orange slice. Had some fortifications. You can kind of see them there pretty good. Now I was going to cab this side here, and I thought, you know, there was enough left to cab the other side, and I probably should have cabbed this side here because I think a lot of the detail on the other side got lost in it. I'll show you what I ended up with. I did a natural shape, and you can see some of the fortifications here and some along in here. And you can really see them on the back side. So I think what happened was I had this chunk of whatever this white stuff is, this quartz, and it kind of blocked a view of a lot of the fortifications I wanted to show. And they got some scratches in it, so I'm going to have to take it downstairs and rework it anyways. So, got a really good shine. I probably should have done this one instead, like I had planned originally, but, you know, and it got some pits and stuff going on in there. So this one will probably get reworked. I might just make a cab out of this one here and put this one with the duds, but I still think it come out okay. I'm not disappointed. I had this one here. It came like apart in like 3 different places. And on the outside it looked but on the inside it was just beautiful. Had this reddish pattern going on in there. I thought that was exceptional. So I made another natural shaped cabochon out of this one. And there you go. I captured some of the pattern of that red stuff, and there was some more pattern down here. There's the back. You can really see it over on this side. Now, you know, when I cut the rocks in half, you know, a lot of everybody goes, why can't you have this on the face side? Well, I got to be able to make a flat spot on this side to make a cabochon. And a lot of times I don't have enough rock left to do that, because if I were to shave this off here, it would be a super skinny cabochon. I wouldn't get anything like this. So, you know, you're trying to get lucky and have this go through like that, and sometimes it don't. I mean, I got a partial of it, but it don't look as good that it does on this side here. So there is the cabochon, and there is the rock I made it out of. Finally, I had this one here. Actually, this broke. I can't remember how this went back together here. Something, I don't know, something like this. Anyway, it had this big fortification running through it. Right there. Look at that. Right through the whole rock. So, I made a big cabochon, which I normally don't do, but I wanted to capture as much of the fortification, and it came out nice. And look at the shine on that. And I was kind of worried because it was a little broke up on one side, but it held together very well. There's the back side. There's the front side. So quite impressed with the way this one come out. So there is what's left of the original rock. And there's the cabochon I made out of it. The big old cabochon. All right, so here are the cabochons from episode 35. I'm going to let Bruce pick out 3 for himself since he donated the rocks, and then the rest of the ones that he does not pick out, probably except for this one here, are going to go on Etsy page. Maybe this one here too. I might cab this one up and dud this one out. But everything else will go on the Etsy page. So let's turn the camera around and finish up here. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching me cut those 10 common Lake Superior rocks in half. Got some really good looking rocks, and I think we're going to have some really good looking cabs. Got some surprises. That yellow one that wasn't yellow on the inside, that really surprised me. That's why I like cutting them in half, because sometimes they do not look on the inside like they do on the outside. And then the cabochon, or the rocks that my buddy Bruce donated, made some excellent cabochons too. The South Dakota rocks usually never disappoint, and they always have beautiful shines on them once you finish them on the cabbing machine. So next week, usually I won't tell you this, but next week I got a viewer from Washington State that sent me some really cool looking rocks. So we're going to cut them in half and see what we got in there. And then I'm going to put 2 videos up. I'll usually put my number 5 video up. That's the first video where I started making cabochons. Those are from episode 4. I made cabochons, and I've been making them ever since. And then YouTube will put another video over here, whatever they pick. I don't know which one they pick. I usually don't watch my videos after I post them. So I'd like to thank the viewers and the subscribers out there. The subscriptions are creeping up. It's fantastic. I'm glad people like my content enough to subscribe and get content, or get more and more of a watch. And I'm getting close to 100 videos here. This is episode 36, and then I'll be hitting 50 on my other series. Now I do 2 videos right now. I do this one here where I cut rocks in half. This comes out every Wednesday. Then I do another video where I make a cabochon from a slab or a rough rock, and I take you through all the steps from the rough all the way to the finished cabochon and show you how I do it. That comes out on Saturdays. So let's see. I think that's it. I had to tape my notes to the camera because I don't think it was good for me to keep looking to the right or to the left at my notes here. So I got them right underneath the lens. So it's kind of like being on TV or something. So thanks again for watching. That's all I can think of. That's all I got, and I'll catch you later.